Welcome back to the Cave of Science, and we're going to manipulate the data from your comma separated value file. And this file is should be in your school folder. So you're going to want to go to New, File Upload, and then find your school folder and go ahead and drag it in. Mine happens to be on my desktop, so I'm just going to drag it in. And I'm getting the upload. Looks like it's good. And there's the data, and from here I'm going to open with Google Sheets. And Google's doing its magic, converting it over. Alright, so it looks like we got our data here. We're only going to need column A and column E. So B, C, and D we can go ahead and delete. And let us move this column over next to this one. Alright, let's make this, we just want the heading time in seconds, and we want this is going to be velocity in meters per second. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Now if you're looking at your data and you start off with a couple negative values here and then you have all positive, go ahead and delete the negative values. What ended up happening when you marked your little dots on the falling object, it probably wasn't moving, or it was moving, you might even had it moving backwards, just depending where you put the dots. So if you have any negative values, especially at the beginning, get rid of them. The other thing I would suggest is when you start looking at the data and you can see the velocities increasing, and then it starts to decrease here. This might be the time when it strikes the floor. So go ahead and get rid of that data. So we can just go ahead and get rid of this data because we really don't want that anymore because it's slowing down. So we probably, again, it got near the floor and we weren't taking a very good dot placements. So we can get rid of that. So this data looks pretty good. As time increases, velocity increases. So we need to graph this. And this is going to be a pretty simple graph here. And I got my velocity versus time. And you can see this actually looks pretty good. I got the time here, and it's moving up. And that looks pretty good. Now remember, if you've got something that let's see, yeah, there we go. If you've got this looking thing, we know our little trick here, use column A as labels. You may also have to customize, and here's your chart axis and titles, and we've done this before. And you might want to put in a couple extra grid lines, make it look pretty nice. Let's see, vertical axis, major grid line count. And let's put a few minor in. We can put in 5. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And let's go to the horizontal axis. Let's put some minor ones in. We can put in 5 again. Yeah, looks pretty good. And again, you can go through and have all the fun things you want to do with the colors and everything. Probably the chart title, I would probably change to falling object 1. And let's see. Now let's see how I'm going to make this. Let's make it red. Time in seconds, velocity in meters per second. Alright, looks like we're pretty good there. From here, you're going to want to calculate the acceleration. Now acceleration, and I'll see if I can type this in here. ACC equal, oops, I don't want a plus, I want an equal sign, is final velocity, and I'm just going to call this, I guess I can write it out, final velocity minus original velocity, or initial would be a better term, initial velocity, and that whole thing divided by time. So acceleration equals the final velocity, and again you can see we're increasing, so let's just use 2 decimal places, so it's going to be 5.23 minus initial velocity, which is going to be 1.27, and divided by the time. Now the time starts at 0.367 and it goes from there all the way down to 0.867. So you need to take the difference between the two. And this one's pretty easy. 0.367, 0.867. So 0.867 minus 0.367. That looks like it's going to be pretty easy. It's going to be 0.5. So there. Then from here we can go ahead and do the math. Pull your calculator out. So I got 5.23 minus 1.27, and then I'm going to divide by 0.5, and I come out with about 7.92. And that is going to be meters per second, or meters per second squared. Then from here you're going to compare this to the actual value of the acceleration due to gravity on the Earth. And I'll let you look that up, and you're going to do the experimental error. Alright, so that's how you manipulate the data for your falling objects. Alright, we'll see you later.